Upon learning that the mother-to-be wanted to give up the baby, Anna decided to talk to her husband. And when she saw who the baby's father was, she nearly fainted. Before we continue, leave a comment letting us know what city you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. Anna loved her job. In the maternity ward, surrounded by the first cries of newborns and the tears of joyful mothers, she found the meaning her life had been missing. She loved it so much that, if she could, she would have moved into the hospital, among the white walls, the smell of antiseptic, and the sound of monitors, just to avoid going back to the emptiness of her home. There, within four walls, only memories waited for her. Especially after her husband, Brandon, left. He unloaded everything that had built up inside him, and the kindest thing he called her was crazy. That word scorched her like a brand, but she stayed silent, swallowing her tears. Anna didn't remind him that it was because of him she lost their baby, the tiny, unborn dream they had shared, and with it, her hope of ever becoming a mother. She didn't say a word, because she knew he wouldn't listen. His ears were tuned to only one voice, his mother's. Her venomous words had poisoned their marriage. His mother never missed a chance to remind Brandon that all her friends were already grandmothers and that she was doomed to die alone. "God gave me a defective daughter-in-law," she hissed. Anna tried not to listen, tried to block it all out, but the words cut through her like a bitter winter wind you can't escape. She felt guilty, even though deep down she knew the only thing she was guilty of was loving her husband too much. She would never forget that day. They were visiting Brandon's mother. The air was thick with the smell of strong alcohol and tension. Brandon, eyes bloodshot and unsteady on his feet, suddenly announced it was time to go home. Anna, 5 months pregnant, felt a wave of fear clutch her chest. She begged him to stay, her voice trembling with panic. "Brandon, you've been drinking. Please, let's stay here. I'm scared." She pleaded, raised her voice, clung to his sleeve, but he just waved her off, stubbornly repeating, "I'm fine. Get in the car." His mother, instead of stopping him, looked at Anna with cold contempt. "Go with him. Make sure he doesn't speed," she said, shoving Anna toward the door. Shocked, Anna turned to her, tears welling in her eyes. "But he's drunk. How can I go with him like this?" Her voice cracked, but the mother-in-law snapped back. "Are you his wife or not? Or do you want him to crash?" With that, she pushed Anna out the door. It slammed shut behind her with a dull thud, like the lid of a coffin. The drive home turned into a nightmare Anna would relive in her dreams for the rest of her life. Brandon sped down the road, his hands lazily on the wheel, his eyes glassy. At the very first turn, the car flew off the road. The world spun in a violent blur. The screech of metal, the shatter of glass, her own scream, it all became one blinding flash of pain. The car flipped several times before finally landing upright. Anna didn't remember being pulled from the wreckage, didn't remember the ambulance racing through the night. All that stayed in her memory was her own scream, raw and terrified. She woke up in the hospital. The physical pain was unbearable, but it was nothing compared to the emptiness in her soul. She hadn't even processed the loss of her baby, the tiny life she already loved with all her heart, when her mother-in-law burst into the room. Her face was twisted with rage, her eyes blazing with hate. "This is your fault. Brandon's in the ICU because of you," she screamed, every word hitting like a knife. Barely able to speak, Anna whispered, "What are you saying?" "I lost the baby because of him." Her voice trembled, tears streamed down her cheeks, but her mother-in-law just waved her off. "Babies come and go. But if Brandon dies, how are you going to live with yourself?" Those words sank into Anna like poison, killing off whatever hope she had left. She wanted to scream, to shout that her whole world had collapsed, that her child, her life, had been ripped from her because of her husband. But she had no strength left. She simply closed her eyes and let the silent tears fall. Anna told herself she'd find a way to deal with the grief. She had to, for Brandon's sake, for the love she once felt for him. Even though she could barely stand without leaning on the walls, she spent hours by his bedside. Her body ached, but her soul hurt even more. When Brandon finally woke up, he cried like a child. He whispered, "I'm sorry, Anna. I didn't mean to." He begged for forgiveness, swore he would change, and in those moments, she almost believed him. She wanted to believe their love could be saved, that they could start over. But that hope died when Anna finally went in for a medical checkup. She clung to a sliver of faith that she might still be able to become a mother, that her life still had meaning. But the doctors were merciless. "You won't be able to have children," they told her. And those words felt like a sentence. Anna sat frozen in the doctor's office, staring into nothing, feeling her heart shatter into a million pieces. She didn't cry, there were no tears left. Only emptiness remained, cold and bottomless, swallowing her whole. And when her mother-in-law found out about the diagnosis, she came at Anna with renewed fury. "You're barren. You've ruined my son's life," her mother-in-law shouted. And soon, Brandon, the same Brandon who had sworn he loved her, who had begged for forgiveness, started repeating his mother's words. His eyes turned cold, his voice sharp. Anna saw him slipping away, watched whatever love he might have had for her disappear under the weight of his mother's blame. Then one day, a beautiful day, truly beautiful, because it brought her freedom, Brandon left. He didn't say a word. Just packed his things and vanished, leaving only silence behind. Anna stood in the empty apartment, staring at the door, and for the first time in ages, she exhaled with relief. She couldn't take it anymore, neither him nor his mother, whose words and glares had been suffocating her like a noose. But because of her gentle nature, her habit of staying silent and enduring everything, she had never fought back, never defended herself. She just carried that burden until it became too heavy. Now, alone, she realized that freedom, even one that tasted bitter, was still a chance to start over. But the pain in her heart hadn't gone anywhere, and every day she kept asking herself, "Why did I have to go through so much?" "Anna, heading to work." The voice startled her. She had been so deep in thought, she'd lost track of where she was. She was already on hospital grounds when Aunt Mary, one of the janitors, spoke up. It looked like she'd just finished her shift and was on her way out of the hospital garden. "Hi, Catherine. Yeah, I'm on duty today. Good luck to you. Hope it's all strong, healthy babies today." "Thank you." Anna smiled. That's the kind of woman you should look up to. Aunt Mary had a sick daughter. Her husband had walked out on her. She had grandkids too. But she never complained. She helped her daughter, and her grandkids adored her. Life had thrown so much at her, and yet she held her head high. Unlike Anna, who always found something to cry about. Shaking herself out of it, Anna kept walking. She'd been on her own for half a year now, still hurting. So what if her husband left? He was never really a husband. And she wasn't the only woman who couldn't have kids naturally, there were other ways. Who would know that better than her? Anna was a midwife. Life's cruel joke, helping other people bring their babies into the world while unable to have one of her own. "Anna, come see me for a minute." She ran into the department head in the hallway. "Of course, Dr. Martin. I'll just change first." Anna couldn't figure out why he was calling her in. They rarely crossed paths, only during complicated deliveries. Dr. Martin would always say, "Anna, with your instincts and skill, you don't even need us doctors. I'm just a formality." Now she was already knocking on the door to his office. "May I come in?" "Yes, Anna, come on in." Dr. Martin's tone struck her as odd. Did something happen? "Anna, if anyone can handle this, it's you. We all know how persuasive you are." Anna sighed. Someone must have refused to keep their baby. It didn't happen often, especially here. Their maternity ward was elite, not everyone could afford to give birth there. Appointments were scheduled well in advance. There were rare exceptions, of course, but they came with a hefty price tag. People with money usually planned their pregnancies and looked forward to having their child. A couple of times, single mothers had left their babies behind. One gave birth to a baby girl with dark skin. Another openly said she didn't want to be a mom, she had dreams of marrying a man who only wanted his own biological kids. There had been other cases too, but Anna had managed to convince several women they couldn't live without their children. In fact, some of them still sent her letters and photos of their little ones. Do you remember Mildred Cowell? She was brought in yesterday morning. The one who caused a huge scene and threatened to fire the whole staff. That's her. Local business tycoon who acts like she's royalty. Wait, Dr. Martin, didn't she say she was already 40? I thought she mentioned this was her last chance to have a baby. That's the thing. The baby has a condition, serious but treatable. He was born with a cleft lip. And she flat out said she's not taking him home. Called him an embarrassment or something like that. Oh my God. These days, surgery can fix that so well, it's barely noticeable. She won't hear it. She's already made plans to transfer to another clinic today for follow-up care, as if we did something wrong. Anna exhaled deeply. What about the father? From what I understand, there isn't one in the picture. He was just a donor, and I don't think he even knows he has a child now. All right, Dr. Martin. I'll try to talk to her, but honestly, I've got a feeling this conversation won't go far. Yeah, I've got the same feeling. But it's worth a shot. Don't take it personally that I'm sending you into the fire. No worries, we're all working toward the same thing. Anna made her way to the room. Hello, she said gently. The woman sitting on the bed whipped around. For her age, she looked surprisingly good. Hello. If you came here to talk me into anything, don't bother. Anna calmly took a seat beside her. If talking's useless, then I won't waste my breath. The patient raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Then why are you here? I just wanted to ask, if you're not planning to keep the baby, would the father be willing to take him? Does he even know he has a child? Cowell froze. Then suddenly, she laughed. Oh, please. He has no idea. The only thing he cares about is beautiful female bodies, he's a fitness trainer. So don't even bother. Have you even seen the baby? He's not exactly anyone's dream. The would-be mother turned away from Anna, making it clear the conversation was over. Anna walked to the door, and just before leaving, said. It's probably a good thing you gave him up. A child deserves better than a mother like you. How dare you? I'll report you. You'll be fired by tomorrow. Anna didn't stay to hear the rest of her screaming. She stepped out and made her way to the children's ward. If it weren't for the cleft lip, this baby would be perfect, an absolute angel. He couldn't be more than a day old, yet he already had those bright, clear eyes and the tiniest, gentlest smile. The next morning, Anna woke up with a new sense of purpose. She couldn't just abandon the boy whose mother had so cruelly rejected him. Her heart ached at the thought of that baby, with his shining eyes and soft, barely there smile, being sent to an orphanage. She knew what she had to do, find the father, this Jason that Cowell had mocked so casually. But how? Anna sat at the table, clutching a cup of cold tea, trying to organize her thoughts. Cowell was the type of woman used to luxury, attention, status. Someone like her wouldn't set foot in a regular gym with worn-out machines and faded posters. No, she would only go to the most exclusive, upscale fitness clubs, the kind that practically oozed elitism. Anna opened her laptop and started searching online for the city's top fitness centers. She browsed through websites, looking at gym photos, reading reviews, checking out trainer rosters. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled, one question looping in her mind: what if I can't find him? What if he says no? But she pushed those thoughts aside, reminding herself she was doing this for the child. The list of clubs was long. To save time, Anna decided to be strategic. She wrote down the names of the most prestigious gyms, the ones proudly advertising themselves as premium. Then she started calling them, posing as a potential client, casually asking if they had a trainer named Jason. Most of the time the answer was no, or she'd get offered someone else. But Anna didn't give up. After several hours, she landed on the website of the second-to-last club on her list, Elite Fit. It was a luxurious facility with floor-to-ceiling windows, a pool, and custom programs for VIP clients. On the staff page, she saw a photo of a man in his early 30s, with a confident smile and a fit physique. His name was Jason. This had to be him. Anna's heart skipped a beat. She picked up the phone, kept her voice steady, and booked a session with Jason. The next day, Anna stood outside the doors of Elite Fit. The place was exactly what she'd imagined: gleaming equipment, soft lighting, the faint scent of expensive cologne. She felt out of place, but there was no turning back. A receptionist led her to the training area, and there he was, Jason. Upright posture, easy smile, the kind of person who was used to being liked. "Hi, you must be Anna," he said, offering his hand. "Want to get started?" "That's great. Even a figure like yours needs regular maintenance." Anna blushed, caught off guard by the compliment and the flirty tone. She wasn't expecting it, nor was she prepared for how casual he was. But she quickly composed herself, remembering why she was here. "Jason, I'm sorry, can we talk privately?" Her voice was soft. "This isn't about training. It's something personal. Very unusual, but really important. I need to speak with you where no one can hear." Jason froze, his eyebrows lifting slightly. He studied her face carefully, as if trying to remember where he might have seen her before. His eyes scanned her features, but clearly nothing came to mind. He relaxed and gave a small nod. "All right," he said, motioning toward a small door in the corner of the gym. "Let's go to my office." They walked into a small but cozy room. A notebook, a water bottle, and a few framed certificates proving Jason's credentials were neatly arranged on the desk. Anna sat down, feeling her heart pound in her chest. She had rehearsed what she was going to say, but now the words felt heavy, like stones she had to pull up from the bottom of her soul. She began slowly, choosing each word with care. She told him about the baby, about Cowell, how she had refused to take her son, and how Jason might be the child's father. She tried to stay calm, but her voice trembled, revealing how much this moment meant to her. She shared her own losses, how her world had fallen apart, and why she couldn't let this baby face the world alone. Jason listened silently, without interrupting. As she spoke, his expression shifted, from mild curiosity to shock, and then into something more complex, something she couldn't quite define, a mix of confusion and pain. When Anna finally stopped, the room was quiet. Jason sat with his face in his hands, his shoulders slightly trembling. He slowly looked up, and the confidence that usually shone in his eyes was gone, replaced by turmoil. "You really know how to drop a bomb," he said hoarsely, his voice strained, like each word was an effort. "Honestly, it feels like I've stepped into some kind of absurd drama. Stuff like this only happens in movies. So what, you're suggesting we get married? And then what, when the adoption's finalized, we divorce? Meanwhile, turns out this baby's my biological son, from one of my clients, and I had no clue." Anna looked at him, her gaze soft and steady. She could see his panic, his fear, but she also sensed something deeper, something not yet fully formed, but there. "Would you take him?" she asked gently, almost in a whisper. He didn't answer right away. His eyes darted around the room, as if trying to find the answer in the walls or somewhere inside himself. At last, she gave a small smile. "That's what I keep asking myself too." The next day, Dr. Martin sat in his office, staring at Anna in disbelief. His eyes, normally calm and full of certainty, were searching her face for answers. He knew her too well. Her gentleness, her quiet determination, her heart, which somehow kept beating for others, no matter how many times it had been broken. But what she had told him yesterday, this plan of hers, turned everything upside down. This woman, who had already survived so much pain, now stood before him with a fire in her eyes he'd never seen before. She wanted to save a child nobody else wanted, and she was ready to take a step so bold, so unthinkable, it seemed almost crazy, even to a seasoned doctor like him. "I don't get it," he began, leaning back in his chair. "Let me get this straight, you're planning to marry the baby's father just on paper so you can adopt the child. But you didn't even know this baby existed until yesterday." His voice wavered, a mix of concern and genuine worry. He had seen Anna suffer, had watched her world fall apart, and now the idea that she might be risking her heart all over again terrified him. Anna looked up at him, and in her eyes was a quiet storm, resolve mixed with vulnerability so raw it made Dr. Martin pause. Her lips curved into a faint smile, not a smile of joy, but one filled with something deeper, something sacred. "Isn't it possible?" she asked softly, her voice like a fragile thread tying her to hope. "Can't love come out of nowhere?" Dr. Martin shook his head, a crease forming between his brows. He wanted to object, to tell her this was reckless, that she was walking into fire, but her gaze stopped him. "For me, it can," Anna said firmly. And in her voice was a power that made him fall silent. "And you won't change my mind, Dr. Martin. I know what I'm doing." She sighed. Anna knew him too well to expect him to just drop it. He had always been like this, caring, protective, almost like an older brother who tried to shield her even when she didn't ask for it. She could see how he was looking at her now, searching her face for signs of doubt. But she couldn't afford to waver. Not now. Not for that little boy whose clear, bright eyes were still etched in her mind. "I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like he's mine. That baby shouldn't be alone. I can't walk away, not the way I was left." Her voice cracked, and she looked down, trying to hide the tears forming in her eyes. Dr. Martin stood up and began pacing the room. His footsteps echoed through the quiet office as he fidgeted with a pen in his hands, like it might help him find the right words. "Anna, how did you even come up with this idea?" he asked, clearly shaken. "This is a massive responsibility. And what if this Jason, this guy you barely know, gets attached to the baby while you're living together? What if he doesn't want to give him up afterward? Did you think about that? Are you ready for that kind of risk?" Anna shrugged, not carelessly, but with a calm conviction. Her eyes shimmered with tears she refused to let fall. "I don't know what's going to happen," she said, her voice so soft he had to lean in to hear it. "But what I do know is this: he shouldn't grow up alone. I can't let him live without love, without a family. If Jason bonds with him, then that's a blessing. And if not, I'll manage. I always have. If you won't help me, I'll do it on my own." Dr. Martin stopped, his shoulders sagging. He looked at Anna, and in his eyes was a mix of warmth and sorrow that made her chest tighten. He wasn't just looking at a midwife, he was looking at a woman whose soul had walked through fire and still burned with the desire to do good. He slowly sank back into his chair, placing his hands on the desk. "I'll help you, Anna," he said, his voice steady despite a faint tremble. "I can see there's no changing your mind. I'll prepare all the paperwork." The biological mother already signed the release. "So, it's in your hands now. But Anna," he paused, meeting her eyes, "please be careful." Anna nodded, her lips twitching into a grateful smile. She wanted to say more, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she simply stood and left his office, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. No one at the hospital could stop talking about what had happened. Rumors spread quickly. The midwife who had gone through so much grief was suddenly marrying a stranger to save a baby abandoned by his mother. Nobody believed there was real love involved. "It's just for show," nurses whispered in the halls. "She just wants a baby, and he's doing it out of pity," doctors murmured over coffee. But Anna stayed silent. She didn't answer questions, didn't defend herself, didn't try to explain. Her heart knew the truth, and that was enough. Jason, on the other hand, avoided conversations entirely. The man who once thrived on light banter with gym clients now seemed closed off, like he was scared someone might glimpse the vulnerability he was trying to hide. When the day came to bring baby Liam home from the hospital, Anna felt her heart beating so hard she thought it might burst. She held the infant close, clutching him like he might vanish if she let go. Liam, tiny and fragile, looked up at her with his clear, trusting eyes, and in that gaze was so much faith it nearly brought her to tears. Jason walked beside her, holding a bouquet of white roses, a simple, sincere gift he had picked out just for her. On the hospital steps, he suddenly stopped and let out a soft, nervous laugh, like he was trying to ease the tension. "Want to trade?" he said, handing her the flowers, and looking at Liam with a mix of tenderness and uncertainty that made Anna's chest warm. She gently passed the baby to him, her hands shaking, but she managed to smile. Liam let out a soft whimper, sensing her nerves, and she quickly reached to soothe him. "Jason, don't worry," she said. Her voice was soft but firm. "Don't look at him for what he is now. After surgery, he'll be just fine. He'll grow up to be a healthy, beautiful little boy." Jason looked at her, and in his eyes was something new. Not just surprise, but deep respect, mixed with something Anna couldn't quite name. He looked at her like he was really seeing her for the first time. "You're incredible, Anna," he said quietly, his voice shaking. Anna smiled, faintly, almost shyly, but it was a smile full of soul. She didn't reply. She just tilted her head a little, as if to say, "It's going to be okay." Jason opened the car door and helped her in, his movements gentle, like he was afraid to get it wrong. Anna settled into the seat, holding Liam, who was already dozing peacefully in her arms. "Look at the hospital windows," Jason suddenly said, pointing back at the building. "I think half the staff and all the patients have their noses pressed to the glass." Anna glanced up, and sure enough, curious faces peeked out from every window. Nurses, doctors, even patients, they were all watching, like spectators of some extraordinary story. Her face turned cold for a split second. She remembered the whispers, the doubts, the words that cut deep. But then she took a deep breath, and her lips stretched into a wide, almost defiant smile. She raised her hand and waved at the crowd behind the glass, like she was saying, "Watch all you want. I did it. And I'm just getting started." Jason noticed her gesture and smiled too, a smile filled with quiet pride. He got behind the wheel and headed toward Anna's house. They didn't speak on the drive, but the silence wasn't heavy. It was warm, full of hope. Deep down, Anna felt this was more than just a paper marriage. It was a chance, not just for the baby, but for her as well. A chance to believe that life could still be kind, even with all its scars. 3 years passed. Dr. Martin sat in his office, watching Anna with quiet reflection. The eyes that had once been dimmed by grief and loss now sparkled with the light of someone who had found happiness, despite the storms. He still remembered the Anna who had walked into his office 3 years earlier, fragile, bent under the weight of heartbreak, her voice shaky, her fingers nervously tugging at the hem of her coat as she explained her plan to rescue little Liam. No one at the hospital believed she could do it. Not even him. No one thought that a woman whose life had been shattered could build something new, something so bright, so full of love. "What's confusing, Dr. Martin?" Anna's voice broke his thoughts. She was smiling, and in that smile was not just joy, but a powerful, quiet strength. The kind that comes from winning a battle no one thought you could. "I'm going on maternity leave." Dr. Martin froze, his eyebrows lifting in surprise. He leaned back in his chair, trying to process what she'd just said. "Maternity leave? But you told me, his voice trailed off, because he knew what the doctors had said. He'd read her medical file himself, seen the devastating words that had crushed her dream of motherhood. He remembered how she cried in this very room, quietly, almost silently, hiding her face in her hands. He remembered how helpless he had felt, unable to find the right words to comfort her. Anna laughed, softly, like the delicate chime of a bell that fills silence with warmth. "Well, doctors aren't gods. They can be wrong," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Sometimes life gives you miracles, even when you've stopped believing in them." Dr. Martin felt a lump rise in his throat. He coughed to cover his emotion, then asked gently, "Wait, what about that boy? Liam?" Anna looked at him with such tenderness that his heart clenched. Her face lit up, as if she were remembering something precious beyond words. "Liam's doing great," she said, her voice softer now, cradling each word. "He's with his dad. They're waiting for me outside. He's gotten so big, you wouldn't believe it. Running around, laughing, always asking me to read him dragon stories. And Jason's teaching him how to ride a bike." "So, your baby is Jason's too?" Dr. Martin was still trying to wrap his head around it, but his heart already knew the answer. Anna nodded, and her eyes filled with tears, not the bitter kind, but the kind that come when your heart is so full, it spills over. "They're both my children," she said softly, but with a conviction that made it sound like a vow. "Liam, and the baby I'm carrying. And Jason, he's the best father and husband I could have ever dreamed of. I never thought I could love like this, or be loved like this." Dr. Martin looked at her, and he felt the sting of tears in his own eyes. This was not the same Anna from 3 years ago. That Anna had been a shadow of herself, crushed by grief and betrayal. But now she was in full bloom, like a flower that had survived a brutal winter. She was radiant, open, full of life. Her smile, her strength, her light, it was a miracle. A miracle no one at the hospital had believed in. He remembered how the staff used to whisper behind her back, how they shook their heads when she first talked about taking Liam in. "She won't be able to handle it," they said. "This is madness," others sighed. And him? He had doubts too, even though he supported her. Because he saw something in her eyes that made it impossible to say no. "Anna," his voice trembled, and he paused, searching for the right words. "I truly wish you all the best. Really. I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. You've been through things that would have broken most people. But you didn't just survive. You built a family. You gave that boy love. And," he hesitated, feeling tears rising, "and you gave it to yourself too." Anna stood up, her movements light, almost weightless. She smiled, and that smile was so warm it made Dr. Martin feel a comforting warmth spread through his chest. "Thank you, Dr. Martin," she said, her voice full of gratitude. "If it's okay, I'd like to stay here for my checkups, and to have the baby here. This is where everything started. This is where I found Liam. And here. I found myself again." "Of course, Anna," he replied, trying to sound steady, though his voice still shook. "I'll personally take care of you and your baby. You have my word." She nodded, her eyes glistening as she held back tears. Then she quietly stepped out of the office, leaving behind a soft scent of flowers, and a sense that the room had gotten a little brighter. Dr. Martin walked over to the window and looked down. Outside, Jason was helping Anna into the car. He held her hand like it was the most precious thing in the world. And next to them, bouncing with excitement, stood little Liam. His laughter, pure and bright, reached even through the closed window. The doctor watched this scene, and his heart tightened with a blend of joy and ache. He remembered the day Liam was born, how Anna, trembling with emotion, said she couldn't walk away from the boy. That she would fight for him, even if the whole world stood against her. Back then, he thought it was hopeless. That if Anna hadn't been working that day, Liam would have ended up in an orphanage, alone, unloved, forgotten. But another voice had whispered in his mind that day, she was there. She showed up. And she saved him. Dr. Martin let out a long breath and wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. It's so easy to believe the worst, he thought. To expect things to fall apart, to think life is only pain and loss. And yet it's so hard, almost impossible, to believe in the good. To believe that miracles happen. That love wins. That people like Anna really can change someone's fate. He watched as the car slowly pulled away, Liam waving from the window, Anna laughing as she held him close. And in that moment, Dr. Martin realized, this woman hadn't just saved a little boy. She had saved herself.